Speaking of ESPN and changing names.
Nice segue, Rob Parker. Yes. So, look, we all know what's going on there now. It's the story of sports right now.
And we're not going to act like it's not happening, and we're going to ignore it, okay?
And it's an interesting thing because even Rob and I, obviously, we both worked at ESPN. We both have known Rachel Nichols since the 90s, Rob.
Yes.
Yeah, covering the NBA when she was at the Washington Post. And so she is in a firestorm. And everybody knows because she was caught on tape. And ironically, Rob, it was her own camera.
That was rolling,
forgot to turn off or just didn't know how to do it or whatever in the bubble last year in the hotel. And she was complaining to LeBron James's PR manager, Adam Mendelson, about how the ESPN was talking about having Maria Taylor, who's African-American, do the NBA Finals, host the show. And Rachel was upset because she wanted to do it. And she did mention something about a contract. I don't know if it's actually in her contract that she hosted or not, but she did do that. And had she kept it to that, Rob, it would have been fine.
Or
right?
Chris,
this is in my contract. I'm going to talk to ESPN because, look, my contract says I host the NBA Finals for the countdown
I'll give you another one that would have been even doable. I don't think Maria Taylor deserves the job. I'm better than her. I can host the show. But when she do you see what I'm saying?
Point.
Like,
yes,
like,
you can feel that way.
You could say that. You could feel that way. Like, I'm better than her.
Now, you might be wrong.
You could be.
But you can feel that way. Right. There's nothing wrong with saying that.
Right. I think I'm better than her. I can host a show. I've done it before. I had my own show at CNN. Do you know? You can make a case. Okay.
Right.
You can make a case. But once you bring in, like, the only reason she got hired is because of diversity and because she's black, that's where you lose me, okay? You lose me there.
And rightly so. Because Rachel would not like it if someone said she only got that job because she's a woman.
Or because her mother-in-law is Diane Sawyer, right? A news anchor legend at ABC News.
Right. Any of that you didn't earn it.
Right.
And so that's where the big hubbub is all about. She said Maria Taylor was only getting this position because of diversity. To use her words, ESPN was feeling pressure from she didn't say this part, but all the Black Lives Matter, all the racial problems going on in our country, that they felt like they had to put a black person on that show. And that's where everything started. It happened a year ago, but it just came out this week in the New York Times. And it's not going away. So yesterday, ESPN
let's say
tried
one
to
other thing
squash
too, Chris. One other thing. The pressure to put a black person on the show. Do you know how many black people have hosted that show?
Man, I said it yesterday. I was on the show when we didn't even have a host. They just felt like the four of us could do it.
A round table, just kicking
Magic
it.
Johnson, Michael Wilbon, John Berry. Three of us were black. Three of the four. And
how
like
about
you said,
when Kevin Frazier hosted it? Kevin Frazier, Stuart Scott.
Sage
Stephen
Steele.
A was on that. Sage
for
Steele was on it. What? I just don't get that.
There's
Seriously.
Negroes all over the TV when it comes to covering basketball. I mean, seriously.
Right.
Even if they had Rachel hosting the show on this series, you would have Rachel, Adrian Wojnarowski, both of them white, and Jay Williams, and Jalen Rose. Right. That's two black. So it doesn't make sense. I'm going to say this, Rob. Because Steven Jackson came out and called Maria Taylor getting the job a sympathy. I don't know where in the world he got that from. All right. But if any other African Americans, I've heard rumblings, I haven't heard it myself, but I've heard rumblings that some have even said, it may have been that they felt whatever, without really knowing for a fact, but speculating themselves. If you feel like Maria Taylor getting that job was a sympathy hire or just because she's black, I don't. I think she's very good at what she does. I think she's excelled at what she's done.
She played basketball too,
She played basketball, and she's good. Now, you can debate, is she better than Rachel? Is she worse? That's debatable. To be honest, both of them could do it. Sage Steele could do it.
Yep.
All right, there's a lot of people there that could do it. But if you're black and you think it was a sympathy hire, then shut up about Rachel. Please. I'm real talk. Shut up. because you just making noise. You just want to talk about race and condemn this white woman for saying it. And I'm not trying to defend her.
No,
because I said yesterday
saying.
and today what she said was wrong. But if you think she was right, then you just need to shut up.
It kills me, and this pains me, Chris, because we put our blood, sweat, and tears into this business, and the notion like, oh my God, they're just giving black people jobs,
right,
or whatever. It's just asinine.
When in America has that been happening?
Yes, please stop it. I just can't. It makes me sick. It really does, and that people really believe that. Oh yeah, as if she just fell off a turnip truck, Chris, and didn't even know what a TV camera. She's put in her time and put in her hard work for her opportunity. You don't have to. I'm not saying everybody has to love her or think she's the best thing since sliced bread. That's not the issue. But don't belittle or make it like she didn't earn her way. You don't make it to national television. Are you kidding?
You're absolutely
Come
right.
on,
You're
really?
Absolutely right.
You know how hard it is? You know how many people want to be on national television?
I was saying to somebody the other day, Rob, I was like, because I was being interviewed yesterday afternoon about, my job and just how to get to this level and all that. I was like, look, keeping it real, some people are not going to reach this level. Most people won't. You can count on a few hands, Rob, how many people are on national TV talking about sports.
Right.
It's only a handful of people, and they've earned that right to do it. Nobody's giving charity because it's all about ratings. It's all about performance. And so anyway, ESPN tried to kill it yesterday when they started The Jump, and that's the show Rachel Nichols hosts for the NBA show she hosts on ESPN in the afternoon.
The Daily Show, right.
And she delivered what was about a 30-second apology. And then in the same studio, right, some people don't think she apologized. In the same studio, she was sitting there, and the apology, you just saw her, but then they panned wider, and Kendrick Perkins and Richard Jefferson, two former NBA players, were there as well. And they're on the show regularly. And then they spoke. Each of them spoke longer than Rachel. And I'll let you describe what you thought they said, Rob. But let me just say my piece, because their bottom line is they're both catching heat for what they said. I say this. It's unfortunate that those two were even put in that position. They had nothing to do with this story. Absolutely, positively nothing. And Rachel should have apologized on her own. And they should have, you come out, you start the show, so to speak. She's on screen. She apologizes. And then you either go to a commercial break or you go to the opening of the show. And then when you get there after a few moments, Perk and RJ are in the studio, and now you talk basketball. But they should have not have had to even what do they have to do with this? And Richard Jefferson even had... I don't want to call it the audacity. He said, Rachel's not excused. I'm not excused. Perk's not excused. What? What did you and Perk do?
Right. What do you have to be excused about?
Right. What are you talking about? I mean, I think both of them made some legitimate comments, but some of it was like, what are you doing? Why are you didn't do anything wrong. You have nothing to do with this.
And here's the problem I had, Chris. And, I saw Kendrick's comments about something like he don't want to lose his job or whatever.
We got the sound of that, Rob. Here he is. He went on after the show. He went on Twitter Spaces. I'm not even familiar with all this stuff. I don't know what that is. Twitter Spaces, and he explained himself. Because they're catching heat, particularly from the black community. I'm not sure about I don't know if people of other races, but the black community's on their tail. But here he is on Twitter Spaces.
You could be mad at whoever else, but at the end of the day, Kendrick Perkins didn't have anything to do with none of this conversation. Kendrick Perkins was scheduled to be on The Jump regardless before this even came out yesterday. Now, I had to address it, and I thought I addressed it appropriately. I thought I handled it appropriately. Well, for one, I spoke and I acknowledged Rachel for however you want to say her apology was. She apologized. And I spoke and I said it. And I also said that she never did nothing towards me because she didn't. I would be lying on her. And I gave Maria her flowers. And at the end of my conversation again, I said that we all need to be rooting for each other. It's enough to go around. I don't know what other peaceful way I could have said it. Okay. And then at the end of the day, I can't go on there and go off and go crazy and risk losing my job because some other people want me to go on there and speak on how they feel.
No one's asking him to lose his job. Okay, that's not the issue. And if you're going to say something about it, address it, Chris. I don't doubt for 1 second if that was me and you on that set with Rachel, Chris, instead of those two guys, that we would have talked to Rachel about the pain and anguish and what black people have to go through to make it in this business. And it ain't right to paint us in that light and the continuous stereotype that we don't belong and we only get handouts. That's what I would have said. That's what bothers me. And if they wanted to fire me, Chris, then the hell with it. Because that's the point of the whole thing.
They wouldn't have been able to. You're right. You would have had such public support that I can't imagine.
But you get my point?
No, you're absolutely
I'm not
right.
talking about going ham on Rachel Nichols on ESPN and calling her out and calling names. But Rachel, what are you saying? Do you believe we don't belong up here with you? Am I a minority hire? That's what I would have asked her.
Well,
is that what you think of me?
I agree with you, Rob. And here's
I don't doubt for 1 second you would have said something, Chris. Not for 1 second.
You're absolutely right. And here's the thing. Your comment that you just said, it brings up a whole nother issue. Instead of having two former basketball players up there, you should have had at least, if they were willing to do it, you should have had a black journalist up there. Because she was really speaking toward, at least in terms of Maria Taylor, she was talking about another black journalist.
Yes.
Right?
Someone,
or black
right.
broadcaster.
On-air personality.
Right. And the
not
fact
a former
of the matter
athlete.
is that journalists or reporters or broadcasters are trained to some degree. Obviously, everybody wasn't trained in broadcast journalism, but you're trained to ask questions, right?
Yes.
To deal with situations like this to some degree. Professional athletes, especially, I mean, those two just retired.
They just
And
they're not going to say anything.
Right, they're kind of thrown into a situation that they probably weren't prepared for. And I think, like, if you brought a black journalist from ESPN on there who felt like you do, and I've talked to some, and I'm sure you have too, they feel the way you feel.
Yes,
what you just
Chris.
said. And one of them could have said it to her. You're right. It ain't about getting in a fight. It's not about getting in a yelling match. It's not about making her look bad. It's about addressing the situation.
And
because
that didn't
that's the
happen.
crux of what has made people upset.
That's why people are mad.
She don't
right.
deserve it. Yes.
Right. And that's the part that bothers people and really wasn't addressed. And if Chris, if you were up there, I could see you. Rachel, do you think I'm that too? Do you really believe like they gave me a job because I'm black? Really, where did that come from you? I've known you for a long time. Do you see what I'm saying?
No,
and then you could have got something from
what
her.
You meant. Explain what you meant. You know, and obviously, let's keep it real. Obviously, ESPN didn't want that type of back and forth on the air.
Yeah,
so guess what? Don't put anybody else on the show with her. Let her apologize solo. And then
and then we go to commercial when we start the show.
Right.
Right.
But if you're going to have them on there to talk about it, then you got to let them speak their mind. Or don't have them on.
Yep.
So
100%.
I think the NBA's got to be upset, man.
The NBA should
because
be
this
furious.
is to some degree upstaging the start of the NBA Finals.
Right. You don't want a controversy like that burning. You just don't. That's just not what you want. And then you got a lot of black people who are upset, and rightfully so. I'm sorry. We've lived through this, man. I'm so tired of hearing this, that that's the only way we get our jobs. You know what I mean, Chris?
Right.
Really?
Right. No, you're absolutely right. And